you can pop them in there. As I said, if we've got any that we feel relevant to come to right there and then, we'll answer them. Otherwise, we'll keep them for the Q&A session at the end. If you have any technical issues or anything like that as well, please pop it in the chat. Like I say, Tina's keeping an eye on that, so she'll try and help you, or let me know if we need to pause for any reason. So, who are CloudyIT? Hopefully some of you have heard of us. We're relatively big in the local government sector. We do IT support predominantly just for councils now. So to give you an idea, when we went into COVID, we were supporting about 13 councils. Today we support over 300. So we've grown quite significantly in that sector. And it means everything we do is specialised to that sector. So we like to think we have a very good understanding of the sector, and we tailor our services to that. So we're a Microsoft partner. So our systems are all based predominantly around Microsoft 365. And as we'll find out today, we do much more than just IT support. So obviously one of those being hybrid meeting solutions, AV, telephony systems. We have a very comprehensive training program, which has been in development for about 3 years now. So yeah, there's a lot that we do at Cloudy. So a quick introduction. My name's Ryan. As I said, I'm head of AV at CloudyIT. So go out and install all of the hybrid meeting systems that we do. I've done everything from start to finish for Cloudy with the AV systems. So scoped out the systems. One of the key things for us is making sure that the systems that we do are as accessible as possible to everyone. We know there's quite a varying degree of technical confidence in the sector. So having something that everybody feels confident to use is really important to us. And yeah, I'll hand over to Tina to introduce herself, and she has the next slide as well. So.
All right, good morning everybody. Always great to see so many clerks. Yeah, I'm a clerk. I've been a clerk for 12, almost 13 years. I used to look after a very large council for 9 years, but now I have a medium council, a small council, and Cloudy to fill my days. So my role in Cloudy is basically I'm the honest interface. What do clerks need? What do we find difficult? What could be better? You know, because I'm living and breathing it, how the legislation affects us, how like Assertion 10 on audits is affecting us. I've got my internal audit tomorrow. So once I've finished talking to you guys today, I'm back off going through everything, making sure I'm ready for my auditor tomorrow. And it is that, you know, and I'm always very honest with them as to if they do something, would I not use it? So, and basically that's what they use me for. I do the events and basically chat to as many clerks as possible, find out what people want, where the struggle points are, and then taking it back to the team and say, can you make this better, is basically what I do for them. And being paid to talk to clerks is awesome. I love it. So that's always a good thing. So yeah, so that's me really. So if, like I say, if you want to ask anything from a clerk perspective, please do so. And also, if he gets too techie, because I love all the Cloudy people, but they are very techie and they get very excited about techie things, and they start talking in languages I don't understand, and I have to remind them that there is a dinosaur in the room and that they have to sort of bring it back down to nice, simple words. So we love a bit of passion, but if it gets too techie, just let me know, and you know, and I'll say to Ryan, dinosaur alert, dinosaur alert, come on, bring it back to my level. So yeah, so right, this is on to us. As you know, the King's Speech, I don't know how people's other perspectives are, happy to talk about it, but I was quite disappointed actually that the hybrid meetings didn't come in. I really was. I think for us, it's really the next step forward. I kind of think that this is keeping us in the past, and And with everybody's lives getting busier and more frantic, I really feel that not having hybrid meetings is narrowing the pool of people that we can have for councillors, and narrowing the ability for us to actually reach out into our communities. I know when we were using the hybrid meetings, we had really, really good community engagement. And actually, despite COVID, because of that improved communication, we actually set up a lot of things in the community that are still running now. And it literally was because more people got to see us, speak to us, get involved with this. And I think for clerks as well, you know, the hybrid meetings that would allow us to record votes and all that sort of thing. It's just taking away some of those layers of admin that takes up our time when actually we probably need to be onto other stuff, honestly. So I think personally for me, I think it was a real shame that we didn't get hybrid meetings, because I've got some older councillors who it's becoming more difficult for them to get to meetings, and what's going to happen is I'm going to lose them as councillors. And had it been hybrid, then I wouldn't have lost them as councillors. And actually, you know, they are pretty good, so I don't really want to lose them. Anyway, so we go on to a quick timeline. I'm sure people can remember, I'm assuming that quite a few of you were clerks in COVID as well, and what a difference that made to us. So in 2020, we got the powers granted, and apart from the complete madness of trying to get ready, Ryan knows my insanity because he actually set up Thetford for me. It was a mad rush. He had the patience, I was saying, that I did not possess. And he managed to get all my councillors on their devices onto hybrid meetings. Honestly, it was amazing. And they held our hands for the first meeting. And actually, from day one, we were good. We were off. Did more password resets than I possibly dared to remember in those first few weeks. But apart from that, it was great. And I think we all kind of got into the groove, really. And even the smaller councils were finding ways of actually making those meetings happen. And then the powers got revoked, really. But for a lot of councils, like for the one I was on at the time, we'd actually got quite used to hybrid meetings, and we're using them for other things, not just council meetings, particularly for things like planning. When we had planning consultants, instead of actually having to pay the exorbitant amount of money to get them in the room, we could just dial them in to workshops and meetings, and that was significantly cheaper and easier to organise. So we actually kept using ours, you know, for other things as well. So that all jogged along, and then when we got used to not having it, they brought it back on the horizon and said, oh yeah, actually we think we're going to go back to having hybrid meetings. And we're all like, yay, let's go. And the technology had improved dramatically by then. I mean, I don't know if Ryan's going to talk about it later, but when we first used Teams, gosh, what a thing that was, right? And Zoom was better than Teams, but we were Teams because we were 365 Council. But it's come along so much. What can be done within Teams, what can be done within a meeting. Even now, you know, we're recording and transcribing. We'll be able to share it with everybody. It can produce summaries for me, highlights for me, you know, takeaway actions for me. So there's so much that can be done. So when the government committed to it again, I think, you know, clerks in general were pretty happy that was going to come back. And obviously the technology, the actual equipment has also improved as well. So Ryan will be able to tell you all about that. And then we were hoping for the powers to return, but they didn't, unfortunately. But I think other people in the room may know this better than me, but I think the next time it could be up is September. Is that right? I'm not sure. I think it might be. So I think that it could get another reading perhaps in September, October time. So now we just wait and see. But actually, I think with all the benefits of using Teams in your meetings, and I mean, probably most of us are putting it like on Facebook or YouTube or something, recording our meetings. I think that what is within that, like being able to transcribe our minutes and things like that, is, you know, really helpful to clerks. So I think there's mileage in sort of getting up to speed with that technology anyway, from a personal point of view, because it reduces my workload, which is always good. So anyway, now I've kind of waffled on a bit. I'll hand it back to Ryan, who will come and amaze us all with technology. And like you said before, if you've got any questions, stick them in chat. If I can answer them, I'll answer them straight away. And if not, I'll start messaging Ryan saying I need to ask you some questions, and then we can go that way. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Tina. That was great. So on to the hardware and the meeting room spaces that we're trying to equip. So why is it important? And obviously we've all had those situations, as Tina was explaining, when we scrambled in COVID to get some systems together. Obviously, initially we went to working from home, but we did start to trickle back to being in person, but with social distancing. And I'm sure we all experienced some meetings where somebody had a laptop in the corner of the room and tried picking up people using that. So you always had something where the people sat furthest away couldn't be picked up clearly, or you had people at home saying that they couldn't quite hear what was going on, so it introduced interruptions into the meeting and things like that. And moving on from that, now we're seeing use cases, obviously with AI becoming such a big thing as well, to start using transcripts that the meeting room can record to help us do our meeting minutes and things like that as well. And again, if you haven't got the correct equipment in place, you're going to struggle with that document, writing that document afterwards if it hasn't been able to pick up people clearly. And then quite often we get asked the question about accessibility in our meetings. So obviously, as councils, we're always trying to ensure that we meet accessibility requirements. Sometimes hearing loops are quite prohibitively expensive to install. But again, as we start going through some of the hardware today, you'll start to see that more and more there are systems that are coming in that can kill two birds with one stone, as it were, and start to reduce costs if the council are already looking at investing in meeting room.
Yes, please, please, of course.
Okay, so next slide.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So these are the 5 things that our rooms always aim to do, and sort of your checklist for what you should be looking for. So as we said, every voice picked up clearly. So no matter where people sit in the room, no matter whether they are a quiet talker or a loudspeaker, they should be picked up equally. Camera follows the speaker, so you'll see a couple of variations of that today. We've got cameras that will divide people up on screen. We've got other cameras that frame the room rather than the individual speaker. But again, we'll go through those in a bit more detail in a moment. But ensuring everybody can be seen as well as heard is also important. Clean audio that you can rely on. That sort of links in with the every voice heard, but as we're explaining, relying on transcripts and AI translations and things like that more and more, having a system that can pick up everybody clearly is important. Accessible by default. So as I said, we've got some systems that are coming out now that can start to introduce assistive listening capabilities within your meeting rooms. But even at its core, using a system like Microsoft Teams, we can start to introduce on-screen closed captions for people that are hard of hearing. For the councils that we work with in Wales, for example, we can introduce translators, so you can choose which language you listen to a meeting in. That can also work where we've got communities where their first language isn't English. And then finally, as I said, we're starting to see AI move more and more into our meeting room spaces. And as I said, at Cloudy, being specialists in the sector, we have a lot of tools that we've developed to assist specifically councils for that. So things like GovAssist, which is our AI meeting tool, and AI chat, as it were. So it's very much like ChatGPT, but it's specialised specifically to the sector. We've worked closely with NAUC to help build it as well. You can upload your own council documents, all that sort of thing. as well. So you can start to complete the whole package. It's not just the hardware, it's thinking about how you're going to support those meetings moving forwards as well. Okay, so on my next slide, like I say, we are getting to the hardware. Before we do that, there's a quick video that I want to show you. So this is using our mid-range system, so the Logitech system, which is what I'm coming onto today. Some of you may know Tiverton Town Council. They've got a very, very old council chamber, listed building, very high ceilings, acoustically terrible. There is no acoustic treatment in there whatsoever. I managed to find an old video on YouTube of an old mayor making session from about 2000 that was filmed on a traditional style video camera. So you can hear just how acoustically poor it is in there. And then, as I said, we took the Logitech system down and did a demo meeting for them. So you can see just what a difference having the right type of microphones in a room makes. Hopefully you can all hear this. Please let me know if...
I do swear that I will faithful and bear truth allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heir and successors according to the law. So help me God.
Really hot.
You sign them for me, sir?
Sign them, yes. I will sign them when somebody throws me a pen.
Oh, cheers. Thanks.
Here.
Wasn't even my pen. Did you like that?
It wasn't even my pen.
Thank you very much. Democratic period, Mr. Elston, welcome.
Three things I'd like the opportunity to talk to. One is provide feedback on a planning application, which I know this council objected to on various grounds, including the requirement for cycleways. That's the Blundell's Grange Red Road development. It was passed, it was approved by MDCC. The vote was 6-4, 5 abstentions.
No, I think it's inside, so it's right on the edge of that bit that's been built next to the Ling Road.
Yes, you know the little bridge that goes over? It's just there. Literally.
It's like brave from everyone else.
Yeah, they're near closer to the town.
Steve that, but yeah.
We have a legal obligation to provide gypsy and traveller pictures.
But the
And
only worry
they've
is,
been there throughout the whole planning process.
the only worry is the road. That road's not wide enough.
So there we go. So that gives you a good idea, like I say, when you've got the right kind of audio, the right kind of mics in a room, just what a huge difference you get. And to be honest, that recording sounds better watching it via the video than even being stood in the room next to the people. So, okay. So these are the three main systems that we see councils take. So you've got a few options. So we cater for the smallest council right up to some of the largest councils. So something like the Owl, a lot of you may have heard of the Owl. It seems to be quite a popular device in the sector. I've got one just sat on the table just here for me, with me, if you can see that. So the Owl is more an entry level system, very popular with councils that don't have their own dedicated chamber. They need something ultra portable. You then go up to something like the Logitech, which is next step up in audio capabilities. It is predominantly a fixed room system, but there are options where we can make it portable. And then finally, you start going up to more bespoke systems. So there's a brand new system that's coming out from a company called Nureva, which is where we're starting to see that integration with assistive listening. And I'll explain a bit more about that in a moment. We're going to go through from each system now. So So on to the first slide. So the owl, as I said, this is most popular with smaller councils, those that are meeting in perhaps village halls, things like that. We at Cloudy like to be honest, so we always tell you about limitations with systems. We'll also advise you if you could go for something like this over one of the very expensive systems. But one thing to be clear with the owl is it does have its limitations. Being a portable unit, everything is in this one system that you can see here. So it's got your speakers, your microphones and your camera. So the camera is that little top hat that you can see up there. In fact, what I will do quickly is this is a little bit difficult because I've just got one screen. So let me very quickly switch to the owl camera, just so you can see what that looks like as well. I'm going to spotlight myself so we can see that main camera. And also I'm going to switch to the mics as well, just so you can see hear what the audio sounds like. So you should now be hearing me. This is always a difficult thing to do when you're demoing in one little room. Okay, let me share my screen again and go back to that slide. Okay, so I'm now coming to you on the owl. So you can see it's picked me up. It can see me here, and you'll see along the top as well. You've got that bar. So what that does when we're in full screen, it's cropped me down because I'm showing the presentation as well. But what will happen is the idea with the owl is it sits in the middle of the room. It gives a 360-degree view of everybody sat around the table, and then that bar along the top, it basically pieces the whole room together. So you can see everyone at the same time. And if you've got multiple people speaking in the room, it will split up to 3 windows on screen. So that first video that we saw, that was using the Logitech, but very similar layout, but you just have 3 people rather than 4 at any one time. This device is the easiest way to think about it is it's a very sophisticated webcam. So it doesn't have any computing power in it. It's currently connected via a USB cable to my laptop. So I plug it into my laptop, use meeting room software that I'm familiar with, whether that's Zoom or Microsoft Teams, whatever you're most comfortable using. Select the owl as your camera, mic and speakers, and away you go. You just run your meeting just like you would in lockdown or any other time using your meeting room software. So this is a bit where I try not to get too technical, and Tina will rein me in if I do. But what you're going to see, the difference in this is the microphone technology predominantly. So most meeting room systems now will use what we refer to as intelligent mics. A traditional microphone nowadays is referred to as a dumb mic. Basically, there's no technology in it. You speak straight into it. It doesn't have to do anything sophisticated. With the owl, you have what's called a beamforming microphone. So a beamforming microphone will create virtual mic lobes to each person that's speaking. So we don't each have to have an individual mic. That's where you start to get limitations with systems. They will only cover up to certain areas, and that's why you would go up to bigger systems or more mic pods, that sort of thing. So the owl has that beamforming microphone and will cover a total room of 4.5 meters. You can pair 2 owls together, so you can extend that range. You can also get a single mic pod to connect to the owl as well. But again, with just using that single microphone technology in there, any echo cancelling or background noise, we are reliant on using the Teams software to filter that out. So it's a very good system, but it will have its limitations. It is designed for smaller rooms or smaller meetings. One thing we try not to do is, so a lot of the manufacturers will cite the amount of people it can support. But especially working with councils and council chambers, we get some very modern council chambers, but we get a lot of very old council chambers, listed buildings. So we don't generally go on people. We look at the room more and have a look at what's going to be best for that room. So it's just to be aware that if you've got a bigger chamber and it's acoustically not great, you might start to reach those limitations with the owl. But again, if you're a council that needs that ultra portability, sometimes that slight trade-off it is worth it because you've got that portability. In terms of screens in rooms, it depends what you want to do. A lot of the councils that we work with at the moment are just purchasing their systems to broadcast out to the local community, so they don't need to worry too much about having a screen in the room. But obviously, especially at this point where we've pretty much had it confirmed that we will be able to go back to hybrid meetings, it's certainly something worth considering. And of course, there are small projectors and tripod screens and things like that you can also purchase to complement your portable setup. And that's something that we do at Cloudy. We do the whole package. We don't just do the cameras and so on. Okay. So let me switch back to Logitech quickly. Okay, okay. Oh, I've got an echo now. Okay, can you all hear me? Are you picking up an echo or is it all okay? Yeah, you can all hear me okay? Perfect. Right. Share my screen again. Okay, so moving on to the next system. And this is our most popular system. So this is the Logitech. That's what I'm coming to you on today. I just realised I'm still spotlighted. Apologies. Let me just get rid of that quickly as well. You could be able to see the presentation better now. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. So the Logitech system. So that's what I'm coming to you on today. The Logitech system, you can just about see in this picture, there's a bar at the front there. It's referred to, a lot of people call it the sound bar. So that's got a 4K camera built into it. The owl that we just saw there was a 1080p camera. Originally, the Logitech Rally systems are designed as front of room systems. So again, something you want to consider in your council chamber is the layout. For something like this, the recommended layout for your seating would be a horseshoe shape, and the camera then goes at the farthest end of the table, ideally at head height when you're sitting. And this is because when we've got a screen, if we've got remote participants, naturally you're going to look at them to speak to them. So the camera should be in the most natural position to encourage that inclusivity. So as we saw with the owl there, that picks up individual people around the table and puts them into their own window. With something like the Logitech system, that uses a feature called Right Sight, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. And so rather than picking up people individually, quite often when we have a front of room camera, if you're trying to go to the person that is speaking and you've got a bit of debate going on and the camera's going back and forth like this, it can become quite unsettling for people at home. So with a front of room camera, we generally frame the entire room rather than the individual speaker. There are additions to that. So you can see in the middle of the table on this picture here, about a year ago now, Logitech introduced something that they call the Sight. I've got one here with me as well. The Sight is an additional camera that sits in the middle of the table and again does very similar to what the owl does. And in fact, that very first video I showed you was using the Sight. So we saw the four windows there. So the idea with this is, like I say, it sits in the middle of the table and picks up people when they're talking across the table. As I said, naturally, if we've got people at home, we naturally look at the screen to talk to them. But if we go back to talking to people across the table, everybody at home is getting the side of our heads. So this is designed to keep that inclusivity for people at home, and we'll switch when we're talking across the table. So with the Logitech system as well, you use mic pods. So whereas the owl is an all-in-one unit, you have to, or it's designed to go in the middle of the table and you don't have much flexibility in where you're putting mic pods and so on. With the Logitech system, it uses mic pods. I have one of these here. I am actually quickly going to go back to full screen just so you can see me a bit better. Okay, so I'll spotlight myself again. There we go. So yes, so it uses these mic pods. So these mic pods are touch sensitive as well, so we can mute them. Change to red there as well. It uses multiple mic pods, so depending on the size of the system that you choose. These mic pods you will see are cabled. They aren't cable free. There isn't actually a system out there that can do what these mic pods do that is cable free, just because of the amount of data that it has to transfer. This system that I'm on today would support up to 4 mic pods, but they do daisy chain. So I don't know if you can see on the back there, but there's a connector on the back. So it's not lots of cables going back to the main unit. It's just one initial cable, and then we can daisy chain around our table, or there are hubs as well. So we can take mic pods off in 3 different directions if we needed a bit more flexibility. And also with these mic pods, we have the option. So at the moment, you can see mine's just laid out on the table, but you can also ceiling mount them. So if you've got the right type of ceiling, we can mount them in the ceiling, keep them out the way. You've then got a room that can be multi-purpose. You don't have to lay the tables out in the exact same place every single time. It's not calibrated in that way. It simply finds the people that are speaking, so we can have multiple layouts then as well. The big difference and the big jump up that you get with a system like this is not only having individual mic pods that you can place a bit more strategically, but you have additional microphone technology in here as well. So we still have that beamforming microphone technology that we have in the owl. But the beamforming technology in here covers a larger space. So it's 3.5 meters in any direction, so 7 meters in circumference. And remember, with this system, we can have up to 4 of these mic pods, so it covers quite a large area. But in addition, we have a echo cancelling microphone. So as you heard in the Tiverton example, that echo was pretty much completely gone. And in addition to that, we have an intelligent mic, which, as with so many things, has recently been updated to an AI mic. And what that does is it's constantly listening to the room. It can actively work out what is a background noise and what is a voice, and will cancel out anything that isn't a voice. So if your groundskeeper decides to start mowing the grass outside the window just as you start your meeting, or somebody's rustling papers or anything like that, it will not be picked up by the meeting room cameras. It completely blocks it out. So I said about the right side technology in the camera as well. So I'll just demonstrate that very quickly. So I like to refer to it very much as a set and forget system. You can basically switch it on. Once everybody's sat down and settled, it will see where everybody's sat and it will focus in on them. To demonstrate that, I'm going to leave my remote here. So I'm not touching anything. I'm going to go and sit around the side of the table. And hopefully, after just a few moments, you should see that it will follow me. There we go. So it can see that I've moved around the table and it's tracked me equally. Just to demonstrate the mics as well, if I go into the furthest corner, hopefully you can see the mic pod is following where I'm talking. And in just a moment, the camera should again see that I've moved into the far corner of the room. Hopefully you can still hear me nice and clearly, not much difference at all. I am only in a small room, so it's not challenging it too much, but it just gives a good demonstration of how well it works. But yeah, so the idea with something like Right Sight is we could have everybody sat around the table in a meeting. Halfway through, the left-hand side of the table, get up and leave the meeting. After just a few moments, it will see that and it will focus in on the remainder of the people in the room. You don't have to pause your meeting. You don't have to stop to think, oh, I better change the view of the camera quickly. It's going to do it all for you. Equally, there is a very small additional camera on the front of the rally bar. That can see the entire room. So even if people come into the room halfway through your meeting and they're out of shot, it can still see them. It will zoom back out and pick those people up as well. And one thing you might be thinking is, what if I've got people that don't want to be on camera? With all of these systems, they do have ways of blocking out certain parts of a room. So for instance, if you have the general public sitting on the far left, we can limit how far out the camera is paying attention to and just bring it in to make sure it doesn't pick those people up as well. Okay, let me go back to my slide. So finally, and this is a new addition that we're going to be installing shortly. It's not out until August, but the Nureva are a company that have been developing meeting room systems for quite a while now. The HDX is their newest system. It was actually started by a husband and wife team who originally invented the smart boards that we have in classrooms nowadays. So they have a big knowledge around education, and that's where they aim their systems. But I've seen a real use case for this in council chambers, and I think it's going to change things quite significantly. So the Nureva system is just the audio element of a meeting room. So it's going to be an upgrade to some of the systems that we've already installed, like the Logitech systems, because you can plug in external audio into the Logitech system. But it does some big things that we get asked for a lot from councils. And again, this is something where I'll try not to get too technical. But one of the biggest things we're asked for is amplifying people's voices in the room. We've got people that are hard of hearing, but don't wear assistive listening devices. We've got other people that talk very quietly and are difficult to hear. So quite often people like to have voices amplified in the room. And with modern meeting room systems, this is actually something that's very difficult to do. Previously, we might have had a system that amplifies people's voices in a room, but that's all it was there for. We weren't broadcasting out our meetings. And quite often they were systems like gooseneck mics out on a table. As I said, they're referred to as dumb mics nowadays. They're not, they haven't got any technology in them. You're talking directly into it. When you start having technology like I've been talking to you about with beamforming microphones and echo cancelling and all that sort of stuff, if you try to amplify a voice in a room, by the time it's gone through an amplifier and come back out the speakers, it's a bit like turning the tap on in your house. That water's got to come from your tank all the way down to the tap. So although we don't hear it, there is a slight delay in our voice being amplified. And then the system hears that, picks it up as an echo and tries cutting it out. So it's very difficult to do. So there are systems that have been developed out there that can do both, but they become quite prohibitively expensive. The way they work is rather than amplifying somebody's voice, it's what we refer to as voice lift. So amplification is usually about 26 decibels, something like that. Voice lift is very subtle. It's about 6 or 7 decibels. And it's one of those systems that you wouldn't know is on until you switched it off. But the idea is you could be sat right next to me and I can talk to you. You could go the other end of the room and I could still talk at that same level and you would be able to hear me at the same level as well. So nobody's having to shout or strain themselves to be heard. The way those systems work is the virtual mic loads that we spoke about, they will be able to work out exactly where I am to pick me up. My voice then is only amplified in the opposite parts of the room where I need to be amplified. That way the microphone isn't picking up the amplification, it can't hear it, and we don't end up with that loop. But to do something like that, you need a lot of processing power. So you need to start introducing additional equipment, in-room PCs, things like that. And you're talking about 50 to 100,000 on average for a system like that. So for most of our clients, prohibitively expensive. A lot of councils want it, but they don't normally have the budget to afford it. So that's one of the biggest things with this Nureva system. They are introducing a voice lift feature into this system. One of the biggest things with theirs is it auto calibrates. So one of the reasons the systems I spoke to you about are very expensive also is because they take a lot of hours to calibrate and make sure they're set up properly. Also, quite often you have to make sure the tables are laid out in the same place every single time. So fine for dedicated council chambers, but for a lot of our clients where they have multi-use spaces, it's not convenient. The tables aren't always going to go out in the exact same place. So with the Nureva system, first of all, it allows us to keep that flexibility because they're wall mounted. It creates what they call mic mist technology. So that's thousands of virtual mics all over your room. And you can lay out your tables exactly as you need to. With the top system, you can then have the voice lift. But equally, and something that really sets this system apart is you can also connect up to 4 Bluetooth microphones to the system as well. So if you want to, rather than just reinforce someone's voice, if you do want to amplify people, you have that option as well. We can have a wireless mic on the table, people can speak into that and they'll be amplified. Everybody else will just be subtly lifted. But the biggest thing that this introduces is assistive listening. A traditional copper-based hearing loop system that you would put down on the floor, on average, is about £20,000 to £30,000 to install. It's a lot more equipment in the room. It requires its own separate microphones. It requires a feed from your meeting room system to take the far end audio. It's a lot more work. The copper-based system is there for traditional hearing aids. So hearing aids have a T-coil built into them, but hearing aids are being made smaller and smaller, and there's only so small you can make a T-coil. And with the capabilities of modern technology, they're actually phasing out T-coils altogether. I was talking to a hearing aid company the other week, and I think the time frame is in the next 6 to 7 years. T-coils won't be in hearing aids at all. They will all be Bluetooth based. And there is a new standardization of Bluetooth coming out called Auracast. You'll start seeing it more and more as a standard in Bluetooth devices. And that's what this system uses. So your hearing aid can connect directly to this system, but it goes one step beyond the traditional hearing system because it can actually connect via an app on your phone. So people that are maybe just slightly hard of hearing but don't have a hearing aid, they can use just traditional earbuds. It can also have 2 audio feeds. So again, we can have different languages if we wish. People can choose which language they listen to if we have an interpreter. But you just join, like I say, via Bluetooth on an app. So if you're already looking to invest in a system like this, whereas you would be looking at 50,000 for the voice lift system and another 20 to 30,000 for your hearing loop, you've now got something combined all into one system. It's very new. We've only just been given indicative pricing, but these systems range from about 10,000 with the very, very top system with the voice lift in as well, being about 21,000. So you can already see, even if you just wanted a hearing loop, it's actually cheaper than just going and buying a traditional copper-based hearing loop system. So that's out in August. I met with the developers in London last week. I was actually talking to one of the head developers, and there's a couple of little things that I think would really enhance things for the council sector as well, which they hadn't even thought about, but they're really responsive and they're going away and having a look at them. So it's a really exciting system to be involved in. But like I say, this is a bolt-on, so it would bolt on to that Logitech system that I've already showed you. Or if you've already got meeting room cameras in your room, there is potential that we could potentially install something like this in addition to what you already have in that room as well. Okay. So, and that's just a slide there about, sorry, I forgot that slide was in there, but that's just more about the accessibility. So the Auracast hearing system that you can have. One other feature that is really great with this as well, which I didn't mention, is with a traditional copper-based system, you do have potential, and it sounds extreme, but you do have potential that somebody could sit outside of your meeting room and tune in to confidential parts of the meeting that are going on. And I actually, when I use this as an example, I had a council a few weeks ago that said to me that did actually happen to them. There was a disciplinary hearing and the person in question sat outside the room and tuned in on their hearing aid and could hear everything that was going on. With something like this, you can actually password protect your audio feeds as well. So you can have a QR code up on the wall. When people walk into the room, they have to scan the QR code to be able to join the assistive hearing feed. Or you could just password protect it, so only members of the council know the password when they join to listen to it. They have to pop that password in first. So it adds a level of security to your meetings as well. So the operating system, the UI that's behind all of it. So hopefully you've seen with these systems, something like the OWL, sorry, very straightforward. It's literally plug it in at the wall, plug it into your laptop, carry on using your meeting room software, whether that's Zoom or Teams or so on. With something like the Logitech systems, they're generally fixed in-room systems. So there's no setup for you to do. One of our most popular setups actually is a trolley-based solution. Again, we have a lot of council chambers where they're listed buildings, they have limitations around mounting on walls, or perhaps you've got a couple of meeting spaces that you use. The Logitech system can be mounted onto the trolley with the TV, all pre-wired. The only thing you'll have to do at the most is pop your mic pods out on the table. But you've then got something that can be used between multiple rooms, or if you have that flexible setup in one big room, you've got flexibility as to where you're putting that screen for the different types of meetings that you're having. But with the Logitech systems, they have their own built-in Android PC as well. So we can set them up to work on applications. So again, being a Microsoft partner, we set them up as what's called a Microsoft Teams Rooms device. We can also set them up on Zoom if you use Zoom. However, one thing to bear in mind is the Microsoft license, surprisingly, is completely free. If you wanted to use something like Zoom, you have to have their top tier subscription, which I think is about £50 a month. So depending on the platform you use, there might be annual costs there as well. I'm actually just going to come out of full screen. I've got a better picture of this interface so you can see it a bit better as well. So this is what the Teams Rooms interface looks like. So when we set up a meeting room, your device gets its own email address. So it almost becomes like its own virtual user. So quite often, meeting room app, council chamber app, something like that. When you set up your Teams meeting, you invite that email address to your meeting. It will accept or decline based on its availability. And then the idea is when you walk into the room on the day of your meeting, you can see there all of the day's meetings. And either with this remote, you would click on join and away you go. Or you can also, you can see this, there's touch controllers that you can get. So I've got a little touch screen here that I can have on the desk, or it can be wall mounted. And I can tap on the tablet to join the meeting. So as I said, one of the key things for us is making sure that these systems are as accessible as possible to everyone. So even if you've got a situation where the person who's most comfortable with this system is on holiday or they're off ill, as long as the meeting's been preset up, anybody can walk into the room, switch the TV on and click one button to join the meeting, and away you go. If you wanted to share your screen in that meeting, what you do is you join the very same Teams meeting from your laptop and then share your screen. And that's exactly what I'm doing today. Other than the USB cable that I've got for the OWL and my power lead, I don't have anything connecting me to the Teams meeting that's going on right now. In fact, I can unplug the OWL because I'm not using it anymore. But yeah, so I'm completely cable free, but I'm sharing my screen. All of you guys can see it where you are, and I can see it up on the big screen in front of me as well. There are other ways in which you can join the meeting as well. So directly from the device, you can do a meet now or start a call. If you've got a touch screen in the room, you'll see there's even whiteboard capabilities, so you can have a whiteboard up as well. A new feature, which is great, is you can also join other platforms directly from the Teams room setup. So join with an ID would allow you to put in the Zoom meeting ID, for example, and join a Zoom meeting using the Teams rooms software. And you'll see you've even got a QR code up in the top left here. So if you've got Teams installed on your mobile phone, you can walk into a room, scan that QR code and start the meeting in the room be able to share your phone screen, for example. We've had quite a few councils recently where they've started having things like solar installed, and sometimes they want to share the solar app. So that's a quick way of being able to talk through that out. But this also works fantastically well from a hirer's point of view as well. A lot of the councils that we've installed for, they've got these meeting room spaces. Why not hire them out? If you've got hybrid meeting capabilities, it's an additional revenue for the council as well. And because you've got this interface, let's say, for example, Mr. Smith contacts you, he wants to hire out your hybrid meeting room. You can set up the meeting for him, forward the join links that he'd need for his remote participants. And then when he walks into the room, his meeting will be up on the screen, Mr. Smith's meeting, he clicks join, his remote participants join, and away they go. So it's a really slick system from a hirer's point of view as well. Finally, the other way in which you can join a meeting from this system is just from your laptop. So even if you don't invite it to your meetings, you can walk into your meeting room. If any of you are regularly on Teams meetings, next time you go to start a Teams meeting, have a quick look. What you'll see is you get that window that opens up before you go into the meeting, where you can make sure you've got the correct camera selected and the correct headset selected and so on. Down the right hand side, you will see there is an option there that says use room audio. When you've got a system like this set up, you'll click on the drop down, you will see council chamber, for example, click on that. It will start the meeting in the room on the screen using the camera and the microphones in the room, but and mute your laptop accordingly. So you can do everything on your laptop, but you're using the in-room system. And so that's how we get a very slick and easy to use system that hopefully everybody can access. And as real belt and braces, there is the option to connect to it via a USB cable as well. So if you had somebody that couldn't understand the UI or how to join a meeting, they could just plug the USB cable into their laptop. It will override the onboard PC. And again, just like with the OWL, you would just use whatever meeting platform you're most familiar with and just select the Logitech as your camera and your microphones. So you've got lots of ways there that you can join that meeting. Okay. So that's the most of the hardware done. There is one more video that we're going to come to in just a moment. But as we said, a lot of things nowadays, obviously AI is becoming a big part of the workplace. So in addition to the hybrid meeting rooms that we installed at the hardware, there are some options to assist your meetings further with AI. As I explained, there are our own applications that we've built. But even at the base level from Microsoft, there's a couple of AI tools, licenses here as well. So to start with, you have something which is Teams Rooms Premium. So that gives you access to enhanced meeting recaps. It introduces AI into your transcription, so you get more accurate transcriptions, things like that. And then the next level up is the full Microsoft Copilot package. So that will start to do additional things like you can ask Copilot questions. So we spoke about the budget for green spaces in our meeting last Friday. Can you remind me what that budget was? And it will come back to you with the answer. So you start getting sort of the next level up and a bit more integration with Copilot. Just to show you quickly what that thing what these licenses look like in real world. So just looking at the Teams Premium, so just the first level up, if we go to the Meet application, just here we can see some of my previous meetings. So last night I did some training for St Andrews Town Council. So if I want to view the recap here, what we can see with my Teams Premium license, it has given me an AI summary. So we can see down here, it's summarized the meeting for me down the right hand side here. So here we go, like use of Teams transcripts in council meetings. And I can dive into that even further as well. I can click on the drop down and then it's even bullet pointed additional points within that part of the meeting. It timestamps it for me as well. So I can jump to that part of the video if I want to view that. And then over on the left-hand side here, we'll see we've got our video. We can see it's got a timeline for where people were speaking. So in this one, as it was training, there wasn't much interaction in this session. It was more a show me, tell me sort of training session. If I wanted to jump to a part where Kate here has been speaking, I can click on there and it will jump me to that part of the meeting. We can see along the top here as well, it's also identified topics for me as well. Not in this case, always useful when you're trying to demonstrate something. It's not done it on there either. Let me see if I can find another one with chapters and I won't have one now just to be. Yeah, okay, it hasn't chapterized overly, but what it will do when it's set up is you will also pick up topics and chapters. So again, it's great for instance, if you've got your agenda that you're following, generally it picks up on those agenda points and you can go to them as chapters within a meeting as well. Apologies, I can't show you typical, but whenever you're trying to demonstrate something, it doesn't quite work properly, but there we go. Okay. So next slide. So this video is one of the councils that we work with in Wales. So for those of you that aren't aware, in Wales they were allowed to carry on with their remote meetings after COVID, and actually it's now actually legislation that they have to have hybrid meeting facilities in place at every single council across Wales to have that accessibility to everyone. So this was Neath Town Council. It was a webinar that we did a few years back now, but Logitech joined us as well. But they just give you an overview of the system and how it's changed things for them. Just realised I'm not sharing with sound, so I'm going to use X. So, okay.
When we developed Animal, we envisioned a future in which industrial facilities would have
Yeah, hi Catherine. Thanks ever so much for joining us. A pleasure as always. Do you want to just give us a bit of background about Neath Town Council and just sort of explain kind of the reasons why you invested in the benefits you're starting to see?
Yes, no problem. We're a 19-member organisation, council, serving about 20,000 residents. We've got a dedicated chambers. So members wanted to have a system that was fit for purpose and future-proofed, really. We have a lot of community engagement, so it was felt that they needed to invest in a product that would see us through and also be used in the community. The install was very easy, and for a clerk, that's music to my ears because it's just busy. It's a busy job, as most clerks here will know. So CloudyIT came in, did it in a day, absolutely nailed it. As my previous colleagues said, they didn't stop all day. We have had an add-on of mics into the room. So if I just zoom out, you can see the extent here. So this is basically the size of the room. The issues that we have were with sound and the light. It's not very good light in here. We've got a suspended ceiling, and also the sound, turning papers and little conversations in between meeting points. You could pick it all up, but with this system, it does shut that out. So that was another reason why we wanted to use the system. So you can see the length and the size of this room, and yet the sound is still exceptional. It is a step up of investment for us, but we've based it over a 10-year period, and we know that this system will carry us through easily those 10 years. And with the Logitech automatic updates, as has been mentioned, and the support from Ryan and David and the team at CloudyIT, we've got so much support that we're confident that this system will be, as exceptional as it is. We did have our annual council meeting last week. We had members of the public in the chambers behind the screen. You can't see them, you could see their heads. and we had people join us, and everybody was delighted with the result. Everybody could be heard, everybody could be seen. The Zoom is excellent. So yeah, can't fault the system. Would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, that's just another example there of a council. Like I said, that was quite an early install. That was using the Logitech system again, though. And as she mentioned in that clip as well, the Logitech systems are designed to last. To give you an idea, one of the first Logitech systems that we installed, which was referred to as the Meetup, that was discontinued last year. At that point, it was 12 years old. And when they designed it with a 4K camera built in, which at the time was pretty much unheard of. So again, the systems that we've scoped out and that we're installing for you, they're not the kind of investment that in 3 or 4 years' time, you're going to need to be looking to replace it. Logitech build their systems very, very well and update them as point in case with the add-on of this camera last year. Rather than saying you need a whole new system, they just bring out additions that you can bolt on. Even the mic pods, when we originally installed the systems, the one I'm on today would support up to 3 microphones, and with just a software update, they increased that to 4 microphones and increased the range and the pickup clarity of the mics as well. So yeah, the systems really are designed to last a long time, and you can spread that cost over the amount of years that you would get out of it as well. So a little checklist for you. Like I said, these slides will come out to you as well, so don't worry about that. But some things to ask yourself when you're looking for a hybrid meeting room system. So first of all, do you have a dedicated chamber, or do you hire venues? Like I say, if you need something that is more portable, then you might be looking at something like the Owl. Just bear in mind, depending on the size of the room that you're in and the number of people you need to accommodate for, just those limitations that you might experience. But also with the Owl system, we do have the opportunity for you to borrow the system. So Owl will send you out a demo unit directly. You can use it for one of your meetings. And then it can be returned. If you want to arrange that, just contact me and I can certainly arrange that for you. But it's a good starting point just to see how you might get on with one of our more entry-level systems. How often do you meet? Obviously, then, is it worth the investment? Again, is it worth just going for something, dipping your toes in the water with something like the Owl? Or if it's something you're doing quite often and you've got your own chambers, then is it worth investing a bit more in that next step up with the hardware? Will your councillors and public join regularly? So obviously at the moment, like I say, we've still done a lot of installs post-COVID in England, even without the ability to have hybrid meetings. We've seen some councils that set up working groups, working committees, I think they're referred to, because you can't do the remote voting. But we've also seen a lot of councils that just enjoyed that increased engagement through lockdown that they saw with the general public and have decided to continue that on. So obviously right now we're looking at more at the engagement with the general public, but certainly, as we know, we're hopefully going to be able to go back to those hybrid meetings in the not too distant future. So when you are considering a system now, it's definitely worth the consideration of people joining remotely. Even things like presentations, where we've got a situation where people used to have to drive, 2-hour round trip to do a presentation to the council, but now you can beam them in, save on fuel and things like that, and yeah, do it all remotely as well. So. Then the next question, do we need voice assisted listening? So as I explained, we've got that new system that's coming out in August, which I really do think is going to change quite a lot of the meeting room spaces across the local government sector. I know it's still not cheap, as it were, but compared to what's out there at the moment, it makes these kind of systems much more accessible. Whether that's with the voice lift or whether you just need a hearing loop, there's now a lot of options that are going to be introduced into a much more affordable package. And then finally, who's going to operate it? As I demonstrated, the key thing for us is making sure these systems are very straightforward to operate. Even with this new hearing loop system, hearing assistive listening capabilities, they are very simplistic touchscreen controllers. When we come out and install a system for you, again, we tailor our services to the local government sector. So there's a few things we do where I like to think we sort of go above and beyond. So as part of your install cost, we give you full training on the day. We will remotely attend your first meeting as well. I think that's quite a significant one. So as long as you give us a little bit of notice, even if it's in the evening, it's no problem at all. We'll jump on 10 minutes before your meeting's due to start, make sure that everything is set up and working as hoped. If the meeting starts running smoothly, then 10 minutes into your meeting, we'll just drop off and leave you to it. But if any reason it's not, you've got us there to assist. If you're not with CloudyIT for support, we also give you 6 months free support to go along with the system. If at any point you then come over to CloudyIT for support, it would be included in your support package at no extra cost. And also these systems get registered in a portal as well. So I can see all of the systems I've ever installed. I can't see the rooms, don't worry, I can't jump in and start looking at what's going on in the building, but I can see the hardware and it helps me with troubleshooting. Sometimes if for any reason the system hasn't auto updated, I can push updates to it, that sort of thing. And I'm in there regularly. And even for our clients that aren't necessarily with us for support and the 6 months support is long gone, we're not the type of company that will leave you high and dry. If you give us a phone call and it's something we can sort out over the phone, we generally will. It's more just, you know, if we needed to come to site and you weren't in a support agreement, then there might be charges there. But generally, we support our clients very well. So this is where we start getting on to the additions that we do. So it's, as I said, there is more than just the hardware. Obviously, you can start at that point. You don't necessarily need the bolt-ons, but we've recently released something that we refer to as the SmartChamber. And with our specialisation in the sector, we've built this package where we can install everything for you. So you've got the hybrid meeting rooms, then we do the devices. So we've specified laptops and tablets that would be suitable for either staff members or for counsellors if you wish to equip your counsellors with devices. They would be set up and we provide training on them and so on. Then you've got GovMeetings. So that's our hybrid meeting platform where it does everything for you. So it will plan your meetings, you can build your agenda in there, that sort of thing. I will hand over to Tina in just a moment because she's used our predecessor, which is what our new application has been built on and has a bit of a better understanding than me on that side of things. So she can talk you through her experience. And then GovAssist, which again is part of our Gov Suite package, but also part of the SmartChamber package, which you can introduce. And as we said, that's kind of like a ChatGPT tool, but it's been built around the government sector. It's just looking at specific government guidance and so on. But yeah, over to you, Tina, to talk a little bit more about GovAssist and GovMeetings.
Right. So I'll start with GovAssist because I know several people in the room have already signed up to our GovAssist. So GovAssist is basically internal looking AI friend, basically. As we know in Clerk world that we have lots of issues with GDPR and security and actually the quality of the information. And so what Cloudy did with developing GovAssist was to develop an AI agent that only looked internally at your council's information and legislation, so links to like the gov.uk legislation. And therefore, because it's internal, its quality of the information that you receive back in your answers is much higher. The issue with free like Copilot, Claude, all those things are good for many things, but actually they're not GDPR compliant, and they look across everybody's answers on the internet. So basically it's a watered down of the internet. And like for me, I work for Brandon, and there's also a Brandon Council in America. So when the AI looks at results for Brandon, it looks at both of them, unless I'm very specific about what I'm asking. And then it will come back with sometimes some weird and wonderful answers as to what that is. So when you have your GovAssist item, as I know some people know, it's bespoke to your council. So you load up your local plan, your policies, you can link it to your SharePoint. And therefore, when it's looking around, it's looking only at quality information. One of the other things that people have found is when they've gone with free AI and they've done things like, can we have a model standing orders, unless they're very specific to 2026, you can get a summary of all the standing orders ever. And we know that that's not correct. And I have previously referred to using open AI sources as running your council on Wikipedia. Because if it's looking at absolutely everything, and we all know that there's good councils as well as bad councils, it gives you a summary of those things in your answer, and therefore potentially isn't the quality answer that you want it to be. So using GovAssist is really useful because obviously it's bespoke to your council, it's linked to the legislation pages, so actually when you get it, it's only the legislation from the gov.uk page, not other people's interpretations, not old links. It's it's the latest legislation, which is what you need. And also it gives an accuracy reading, and it gives you its references. So if it gives you an answer, it tells you where it got that answer from, which is also really important. And so I've found that really useful. My staff absolutely love it because I only work part-time. So when I'm not there, instead of just nipping into my office to ask me, they go and ask GovAssist. And also it's been incredibly useful for things like building grant applications, producing policies, and I particularly love it for the Friday afternoon faff when your brain is completely fried and you get the Friday curveball. Can you possibly write me a report or look into this or do that? It's very good. I like it for structuring things. So if I know I've got to do a report or a comparison, I use it to help me decide what the pertinent points are going to be within that, and then I build it around it. So I use it as my framework for a lot of things. And I use it, definitely, I've got the latest thing in. We've got a change in the local plan, so there's a consultation coming out. So basically, I've asked it to pull out parts of the consultation that refer to me in my parish and ignore everything else, which makes life a lot easier because then I've got one side of A4 for my councillors rather than the 240 pages of the local plan for them to go through. So basically, I find that very useful in that it saves me a lot of time. In particular, we could go on about GovAssist and planning. I absolutely love it for planning because within it, I compare it to the local plan, to the county and districts planning policies, to our planning policy, and therefore it then produces something in normal terms that I can share with the councillors for them to do further investigation on. And if necessary, you can ask it to produce the comment to go back to the planning portal, which is really, really useful. So that's a quick run of GovAssist, because I could talk about GovAssist for hours because I love it. And the people who attended our AI hopefully workshop that we did a couple of months ago, it was in February, wasn't it? Hopefully they've found that really, really useful. And if you want to find out more about GovAssist, just tap me up in the chat and I'll get Steve to give you a demonstration, or we'll set up a demonstration if there's several people that want it. So then going on to decisions, I was a big decisions user, used it for years and years. So decisions is a meeting management system, and it's setting up the agenda, formatting your agenda. It produces the minute book. It files all your information away from you. And so it freed up a lot of time, and particularly useful for me was I still do put my meetings for the whole year in my calendar. And then as soon as you've done that, you can open agendas for all of those. So basically you have an agenda template, which makes it very quick and easy to produce your agendas. You just drop and drag all the documents into it. It produces your book, it changes into a PDF, and it sends it out to your councillors and everybody else. So it saves a huge amount of time. And for keeping the relevant information, particularly for things like planning, because I used to have like 10, 15 planning applications a month, it was very good when we had big developments of moving that information across. And particularly things like your annual parish meeting, you know, for us, the grant policies, part of that policy was they had to speak at the annual parish meeting, annual town council meeting. And therefore, once they would give an S137 grants, I would move that information into that agenda. So when I came to build that agenda, I knew everybody who'd had it and I knew the background to their report. So it's very easy to produce that. So the limitations of decisions was it was managed by a third party. So some of the changes what I'm doing, the updates and things were takes a bit of time. And also it's used sort of globally as opposed to the new SmartChamber, which has been designed specifically for councils. So it's much more friendly towards the nuances of working for a council. So I'm now trialing the new system. We're actually using it this week to produce agendas for our next meeting. And I am used to using decision, so you know, it's like with most things, you get into the groove of how to use an application. But this is actually a very simple, very intuitive system. And the fact that you have more control within it, you can it's very easy to set up. It's literally got a setup wizard. It says, Tina, press this button, enter this, do this, do this, do this, and it's done. You know, and if I can follow it, trust me, anybody can follow it. And the fact that it's being developed constantly towards councils. So as our needs change, then it's something that the support team and the development team can change with it. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to show people soon that, and I will be, like I say, I'm using it for my next month's agendas. So using it for real. I think there's 5 of us at the moment that are running it. And basically, as we're finding any issues with it, we're going back and the team are sorting it out. So, you know, that's new and quite exciting. I think it changes the game a bit in that it makes setting up your meetings and finding information a lot quicker. And we all know that what we're short of is time. And anything that does that, and the good thing as well is if I'm away, it's all available to my staff so they can go in and they can do it and we can work on it at the same time. So there's no like, oh my god, the clerk's not here, what we're going to do about it. It's fine. Everybody, you know, who can, my office ladies, they can get in and they understand the system and they can do it whether I'm there or not, which is really, really useful. So yeah, I think it saves time because it's templated. You can save templates, like it's for all of my councils. It's my AGAR meeting next week. So I have a template for when I present the AGAR, and I'm using that basically. And it's things like when I present it's the start of the year when we have the choosing of the chairs, I've got a template for that. And when we present the budget, I've got a template for that. So I know my meetings follow the correct orders. And because my brain is a clerk's brain, and I only think about AGAR once a year, it's really nice to have something that's set up so that I can just go back and use it and know that it's got the correct format, and I don't have to think about it too much. Like I say, it all stores the documents in the same place, which is great, because take 3 of us, we all label things differently and we all decide that it needs to go somewhere separate. So having something that automatically saves it to one default is really useful, because you can always find everything. And again, it's drag and drop to get the documents in, so it's nice and easy to actually attach your documents to your final agenda and to share it. So I think it's really exciting. I'm hoping that when we start going out live, that people will love it as well and find it really useful, and hopefully free up a bit more time so that we can be doing more in our communities rather than spending it on admin. So yeah, that's from my perspective of it all. Back to you, Ryan. Was that all right?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for that, Tina. Always good to have an insight of somebody that's actually using it. I think that's the key thing as well, is Decisions. They were a Norwegian-based company. We helped them develop the platform quite extensively for the council sector in the UK. But I think working with that third party, there was always limitations around what they were willing to spend the time on doing. So GovMeetings is more of an evolution of that rather than a whole new platform. It has the elements that we've seen and liked and used a lot in Decisions, and built upon that. So it's really sort of the next step up on that. But yeah, so they're sort of the 4 elements to SmartChamber. As I said, you don't have to take all of them all at the same time. You can start with the AV, and then you can bolt on different elements of that if you wish. But I think the key message there is, again, working predominantly in the sector, we're able to support you in more elements than just putting in the hardware for you. And of course, one thing that isn't on there is we do IT support. So if you want IT support as well, we can support you with all of that under one umbrella as well. So again, this is just a bit more about GovMeetings. So remember meeting, not the software. The idea is that the software should take away a lot of the manual labour that's involved in setting up the meetings and running the meetings. There is a QR code on screen there. If any of you want to grab that quickly, that will take you over to the GovMeetings page where you can learn more about it. You can sign up to a dedicated webinar for GovMeetings as well, if you wish. Again, don't worry if you haven't had time to snap it right now. You'll get the slide deck after this session as well. So obviously that's quite a lot of information. Hopefully in many ways it's cleared up a lot of things for you and given you a bit more of an understanding around what's possible and how easy it is to implement. If you want to go a further step, if you scan that QR code that's now on screen, that will take you to my booking link. I'm more than happy to meet with you individually, talk to you about the spaces that you have and recommend systems for that. You can also, again, run a free assessment. So we've got an online questionnaire. We'll take you through a few steps. And then, as it suggested, why not send on some of those clips that we've shown today to some of your colleagues? And I think that the very first clip that we show, the Tiverton clip, is really useful and really shows just what's capable when you invest in the right hardware. And it's on to Q&A if there's any questions for us. Tina, have we got any questions in the chat, or anybody want to unmute themselves and ask a question?
Yeah, so we do have one in the chat. Is what's the difference between GovAssist and integrated Premium Copilot? If we have integrated Copilot and have saved settings under personalization dictated to only internal sources, is that the same effectively as GovAssist? And also, what is the difference between GovMeetings and GovAssist?
Okay. Do you want to fill that on, Tina, or should I?
Right. So basically, the thing with GDPR is where they store the information on the servers. And the reason why they don't comply with the GDPR is you can't guarantee where that information is going to be held, whereas with GovAssist, it's held on your tenant. So it doesn't go anywhere outside of that. And also, I don't know about personalization to internal sources. If that means, I'm assuming that if you've done that personalization, you've had to link it to your SharePoint, because otherwise I'm not quite sure where it's going to the internal sources. And I guess the other thing, the difference is that GovAssist is free, depending how much you use it. Might be something. So the GovMeetings and GovAssist. So GovAssist is the AI, and it can help you with the information. It's basically your information friend. And GovMeetings is a system that helps you manage your meetings, tasks following your meetings, your information for your meetings. It can go and search previous information. But that also includes an element of AI. So there's potentially, you could say there's an overlap meeting-wise in that GovAssist can help you with that, but also your GovMeetings will also help you with your information from previous meetings. Okay, so and like I say, I know several people do have GovAssist. You can just, I don't know if, Ryan, if you've got a link to the QR code, you can just sign up. I think it's, they're just changing the way they do the credits. So depending, oh, there you go. So just like magic. So depending how much you use, you can sign up to GovAssist, and depending on your usage, it's free. It's always free. It's bespoke. You set it up relevant to your council. And because it's bespoke to your council, you put what your precept is and what you look after and information. And therefore, the AI knows what to tailor its answers to. Because it, you know, if you, some of your answers would be very different if you're a £8 million turnover council to a 25,000k turnover council, and it knows the difference, so it will tailor its answers. So this is a 2 GovMeetings, and again, have a sign up, have a quick look at it, and that is, I'm reading it because I don't know, because normally I don't have anything to do with pricing. It's people ask me, go, how much that cost? I'm like, I've got no idea. You'll have to ask the boys. And it is 695, but that is priced by precept band. So if you're a smaller council, potentially it's cheaper than that. So, and if you're a bigger council, potentially it's more expensive. So I think that's a starting point for GovMeetings. And if you look at actual other meetings packages, that's very competitive. And of course it's bespoke to councils, and no other meeting packages are. So there you go. Not that I know of anyway. Disclaimer in the box. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. But always feel free to get in touch. It is the lovely Steve Walker on anything GovAssist, really. He is the AI guru. I know several of you have met him before, but all contact me and I'll link you into him.
Yeah. So that QR code will take you to the GovMeetings landing page, but there's a link there to get to GovAssist as well. And also sign up to both of the webinars. I think something else that's quite important to consider as well, if you're giving Copilot or ChatGPT access to SharePoint and documents, is to check their privacy policy. Quite often you're adding them to a database, as it were, and they're not necessarily kept private just to you, especially if you are either a council that is Cyber Essentials certified or looking at going down that route. That's some, we also provide Cyber Essentials certification, and I know there's certain things around that. Again, if you want to talk more on that side of things, we've got specialists in the business that we can put you in touch with to get advice on the security side of things as well. But certainly with GovAssist, it is a closed space. When you have the ability to upload your own documentation, and when you do, it is kept secure and just yours, not anybody else's.
Just a word of caution, if anybody's using free, is that in their terms of conditions, which of course we've all read, they are allowed to use any data you enter as an example or in an answer somewhere else. So you do have to be incredibly careful about what data you enter onto anything free, because if it's personal, any personal detail that could be identifiable to a person, that could appear in somebody else's answer. And by using the free one, you're giving them permission to use any data you enter in any way they wish. So just a word of caution if you are using the free. I mean, I'm not saying don't use it, it's obviously up to you, whatever you want to do, but be very cautious if you're using it, because that could appear anywhere else.
Perfect. Any other questions at all? No, all good. Hopefully that means I've done my job properly. So
yeah. Hopefully, I've got an email that I'm going to send out. I'll send that to Tracy and she can disseminate that, because although we've got you all in our link, how do you keep meetings that are hybrid confidential? You mean the confidential part of the meeting? Or do you mean the whole meeting? The closed session. Well, I would assume that you wouldn't be recording that anyway, to be honest. How we used to manage ours was anything confidential was the last item on the agenda, and therefore when we got to it, we could ask the public to leave, and we didn't record the confidential part of it. So literally they left the room and we stopped the recording because it's confidential. Because what we did is we live streamed straight to YouTube.
Yeah.
So we had to stop it.
Yeah, I think something to touch on there is.
And to be honest, I'm not sure about the ethics behind recording a confidential part of a meeting anyway. I'm fairly certain there's no legislation on it. The hybrid councillors logged on. You could keep them in the meeting but not record it. That's right, isn't it? You turn off the recording and transcription.
Yeah, you're certainly in Teams. Your Teams recording, you can manually start and stop. So it doesn't stop the meeting; it would just stop the recording. Yeah. And I think actually that's something we haven't touched on, which is quite important. Is how you're going to allow general public to. Yes, you can't guarantee that they're alone. I guess that is something to consider. That would be the trust in your counsellor, I guess.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't manage integrity.
Yeah.
And we all know in hybrid, oh my God, I had one of my counsellors watching the West Ham game. Oh my goodness, I could not mute him quick enough because of the language that was coming out while he was watching this game. So unfortunately, I think we all had those moments. The issue of whether they're alone or not is going to be that whether you're recording it or not, to be fair. Yeah. And one of the things they were looking at for the legislation was whether they were going to allow people who were hybrid to vote, or whether you had to be in the room to vote because of those issues. It's one of the things that's being kicked around. But yeah, it's a difficult one moving forward. But it's the same with a phone call. You don't know if they've got you on loudspeaker.
Yeah. I think
so you don't know who's in the room. So I guess it's just we have to rely on integrity, or perhaps you could agree that if it's confidential, that has to be in the room.
Yeah. I think
but we
something,
just stopped the recording, and that was that.
yeah. Like I say, I think something important that I didn't touch on was how you allow general public into the meeting, and there are a couple of options there. As Tina used to do, you can stream it directly to YouTube or to Facebook. You've always been able to do that natively from Zoom. You can also do it from Teams now. There's something called the custom streaming app. If any of you use Teams already and you want to have a look at doing that, just have a look. You install it as part of your meeting and then link it to YouTube or Facebook. But the way that I always recommend for people to do it is you can actually set up different permissions based on where people are joining your meeting from. So for instance, today, Tina is part of Cloudy. She's joined with her Cloudy email. So she will have full functionality in this meeting to share her screen, make comments, use her camera, use her microphone, so on and so on. For you guys joining as guests, you might find you have some limitations. I don't think I've set any today, but potentially when you join as a guest, you have limitations in there, and I can decide when I'm setting up that meeting. I could say for everybody joining as a guest, you can't use your camera, you can't use your microphone, you can't access the chat. So we can remove all functionality. So then it's just like streaming it to YouTube. The general public can't actually interact with the meeting, they can only watch it, but you're keeping it all in one place rather than having to try and keep an eye on two platforms. So some councils rather still like that belt and braces and keep it completely separate on a different platform, but some will keep it in the same place. And again, if you were to take a system from us, if streaming it is one of the elements you want to do, we would go through that in the training as well. So, but yeah. Okay. Anything else before we finish up? Any other questions?
Doesn't sound like it, Ryan. Thank you very much to you and
That's
Tina for today.
No problem at all.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And lots of
No
food
worries.
for thought.
That's it. And if anybody thinks of any questions or anything afterwards, you're welcome to pop us an email. Sometimes things will pop into your head afterwards. So my email is nice and easy to remember, ryan@cloudyit.co.uk. You can pop me an email. We can arrange a meeting or ask away. So
And we'll get the slide deck and everything forwarded in due course as well.
Yeah, perfect.
Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. And we'll see you at our next event soon, I hope.
Yeah, well, we always love to come and chat to you guys.
Excellent. Right. Well, I think we'll all head off then. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.